Mercury Retrograde. What is it? Why does everyone make a big deal about it? Is it important? Short answer, no, not really. It's mainly just astrology clickbait, like this video. Mercury goes retrograde roughly 3 times a year, technically 3 times in 348 days, or once every 116 days when it completes its synodic cycle or orbit around the sun. Mercury is the only planet in astrology that retrogrades more than once a year. This is due to its location close to the sun. Mercury retrograde means the planet appears to be moving backwards in the sky from our perspective here on Earth. It isn't actually moving backwards, and it has to do with perspective and motion and the parallax effect. Like when you are driving on the highway and pass another car, they appear to be moving backwards when you pass them, then appear to move forward again, simply because you are passing them at a higher speed. Both cars are always moving forward, and the same applies with the planets. So, what does this mean in astrology and for us in our psyches? Mercury is our rational intellect, our active mind, and how we communicate. Retrogrades cause a mild shift in how we perceive things, how we think about things, and digest the world and ideas. Usually this shift is directed more inward, and our normally outward-focused Mercury will be less so. Also, Mercury is related to how we communicate in general. If you normally talk a lot and you are outwardly focused, you might be less so during the Mercury retrograde. Or, if you are normally more introverted, you might be more outspoken, things like that. Our minds are constantly going, thinking, taking in info, Facebook, TikToks, YouTube, setting appointments, reading, chatting with others, thinking about others' problems, scheduling life, cleaning, organizing, processing daily things, thinking, processing daily info. We all do this in our own way. But during the Mercury retrograde, it is a time to slow down on these things, if possible, and do the, quote, things, the words. So reflect, reconsider, reorganize, reestablish, reduce, etc., etc. We can feel out of sync during a Mercury retrograde, and this is normal, just a time to slow down and be more deliberate. It is important to think things through during a Mercury retrograde, so you don't miss anything or forget anything. This is where the stereotype negatives of a Mercury retrograde come from. The idea of not signing like a lease or anything during a Mercury retrograde comes from the potential for second thoughts or regret that comes after Mercury moves direct. This applies to decisions made during Mercury retrograde only though. Say an impulse buy of a car. You sign a lease on the car, but you end up regretting it for any number of reasons. Don't act on the ideas that come up during a Mercury retrograde. Check those ideas again after Mercury goes direct. Mercury retrograde is not a bad thing, just a disruption. If you are set on moving forward always in life, especially mentally, and having your mental life in order, Mercury retrograde can disrupt that temporarily. It's meant to teach us to slow down mentally from time to time, to allow other parts of our minds to come up as well. When Mercury is retrograde, our intellect can become less active and in charge, and we can gain insights about ourselves. Looking at your personal chart, see if transit Mercury aspects any planets in your chart during this retrograde. This will activate those planets in your chart and anything about them in you for good or bad. Insights might come up. Someone might tell you something. You might perceive things a different way related to the planets involved in your chart that are being hit by the Mercury retrograde. Mercury will pass them once, activating them, then retrograde back again over them, then instilling any insight and lesson around the specific planets involved, and then it will move forward again, direct, to aspect those planets one last time, and the ideal is to have it figured out by then. Whatever Mercury was trying to teach you or show you through the planets that it was hitting in your chart. If Mercury doesn't retrograde in aspect to any planets in your chart, then look at the house it is moving in. This area of your life might gain some insights or need reorganizing, whether literal or a reorganization of how you think about those certain things in your life. If you have Mercury retrograde natally in your chart, then these 3 weeks while transit Mercury retrograde is happening, you might actually feel a lot more mentally clear and in sync with life.